What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTP Ravens Media, bringing you Ravens content every single day. If you want to stay up to the Ravens content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below and turn the notification bell on if you want to get notified every single time I upload a brand new video. Now, in this video, I really want to see what all of you guys think in the comment section down below, because I want to be talking about kind of the wide receiver rankings. Most notoriously or most notably, I'm going to be talking about wide receiver 1 and things like that. But I also want to talk about wide receiver 3, a little bit of wide receiver 4, and like how players will be playing. So I would love to see what you guys think. The depth chart is for the Ravens. Go through 1 through 6. Who's there? How are they going to be playing? If you didn't know, Miles Boykin and Rashad Bateman are on IR. However, I will bring them up and mention them throughout the video and talking about them. So please let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Like the video if you like the video, but let's get into it. So, I think a lot of people, I've been pretty vocal about who I think wide receiver 1 is on the depth chart, and I think that is Hollywood Brown. However, I don't want to go over this depth chart wise in that sense. I want to go over it in terms of who everybody is keying into the most, who's going to be leading in yardage and things like that, who's going to be doing the most damage, rather than who's just listed as number 1 on the depth chart. Because oftentimes, the wide receiver 1 isn't doing as much damage. For example, Juju Smith-Schuster, when he first came into the league and he's playing with Antonio Brown, I want to say Juju led the team in receiving. Both of them played very, very well. But, everybody's focusing on Antonio Brown, and then all of a sudden Juju's able to play very well. So when I say wide receiver 1, that may be to the depth chart wide receiver 1. However, let's talk about who's going to be the guy that the Ravens are really going to. And I think that the guy is early on will actually be Sammy Watkins, will be a guy that's very, very notable in this offense. Now, I can't say Rashad Bateman because he's injured. We don't know exactly when he's going to come back. But I think early on, yes, Hollywood will still be doing his thing. He'll still make big plays. He'll still catch touchdowns. But I think, in between the downs, second down, third down, not in terms of like shot plays or anything like that. I really think Sammy Watkins is going to be heavily involved in this offense, and it'll seem like he's the wide receiver 1. And so that just kind of brings up, fantasy football purposes and things like that. I know a lot of people like to draft Ravens players. I wouldn't recommend drafting Hollywood. I would probably honestly, I wouldn't draft a Ravens wide receiver. But if you're a fan of drafting Ravens players, I would maybe go after Sammy Watkins. I think his value is incredibly low. And I think that he could really make a lot of big impacts, like have a lot of games where it's just like 75, 85 yards, maybe a touchdown. And that's, if you're looking at fantasy football, if you're looking at the Ravens offense, that would be very, very good for him. So I really like Sammy Watkins early in the year. However, by the end of the year, I do think it will be Rashad Bateman as the guy that defenses are really keying into. But that all of a sudden will start opening up more for Hollywood, more for, Sammy Watkins. And I think it's going to be a very interesting dynamic throughout the entire year. But I think there will legitimately be games where it is clear that Hollywood's the wide receiver 1. It'll be clear when Sammy's the wide receiver 1. It'll be clear when Bateman's the wide receiver 1. It will not be in every game is the exact same type of deal. It'll shift a lot, but in general, especially to start the year, I think Watkins will be the most impactful, but Hollywood will be seen as the wide receiver 1 and things like that. But then after that, in recent years, it's really been like a pretty strict 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 5 comes in, if 4 is injured, if 3 gets tired, 4 subs in for 3. I don't really see that. Sorry. I don't really see that happening this year. I really see the Ravens looking at their wide receivers and recognizing the packages that they can use them in. Devin Duvernay, very solid slot wide receiver. He can come in, he can take big hits. He can do underneath routes. He can go across the middle. He can make very, difficult like contact catches. Not as much, going up and mossing people, but like if you need somebody to go over the middle or something like that, Devin Duvernay is absolutely willing to do that. Or if he wants to come in the backfield. But so if the Ravens are looking for a player like that, they'll bring in Duvernay. However, if they're throwing the ball deep, they may be bringing in Tylan Wallace. They may be bringing in, James Prochet, because they're looking at it like, hey, these guys can go up and make a difficult catch if, they're covered. Because if the Ravens come out and it's 3rd and 15, 3rd and 17, where it's a clear deep pass situation and they're basically running Madden's 4 verticals, if guys are covered, I do not want Lamar Jackson throwing it up to a covered Hollywood Brown. I don't. I don't think that's something that he's very good at catching. Now, if he's got a step, absolutely by all means, throw it up, put it out in front of him. He'll run behind it and he'll catch it. But if he's covered, don't throw it up to him. He's not going to be able to make that catch. He's too short. He doesn't have that type of ball skills, when the ball's in the air. But, Watkins can go up and make those catches. And then James Prochet and Tylen are guys that absolutely can go make those catches. And Bateman, obviously, he's hurt. So, he could also be in there. So maybe bringing in one of those guys. If it's a 3rd and 3, I fully expect Miles Boykin to be in the game because he can go out there and block. And it's much better than having him out. Like, Hollywood may not be in the game in 3rd and 3 situations, because we could throw out Boykin instead of him, and you could still pass the ball. But at the very same time, you could run the ball towards Miles Boykin and be like, wow, he's going to be able to get that block. He's going to. He's a good blocker. That's one of the things that he actually is pretty good at. And it's going to be very similar. I think the best way to compare it would be to how the Ravens use their tight ends. Like, yes, Mark Andrews is in there all the time. But after Mark Andrews, there will be a lot of Mark Andrews and Josh Oliver situations. And I'm talking like once Nick Boyle comes back from injury. A lot of, the 3rd and 10, Nick Boyle's probably not going to be in the game. There's a chance Josh Oliver's in the game, alongside Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews may line up in the slot, Josh Oliver on the line. They do something with that. But if it's 3rd and short, you're bringing in Nick Boyle. You are bringing in Nick Boyle because he can block. You may take out Mark Andrews on very 3rd and short and put in Josh Oliver because he may be a better blocker. But Mark Andrews is an improved blocker. He may still be able to do it. But recognizing the personnel and things like that will be a major key component to this offense. And so it's going to be very difficult to judge on a day in, day out basis, which is why I don't really recommend having any Ravens pass catching options. Probably besides Mark Andrews. I think Mark Andrews is a pretty stable guy as the number 1 pass catching tight end. But all the other guys, it'll be shifting so much. It'll be very difficult to tell. But, overall, in terms of the standard depth chart, it'll be very different from what the Ravens have done in recent years, where we know if you're a wide receiver 6, you're not stepping on the field. We didn't see James Prochet unless everybody was injured, or we saw him during the COVID week. I believe we saw him we just didn't see James Prochet unless people were, hurt and very tired. And then he would come in for one play. I don't see that happening this year. I see, different personnels absolutely calling for different wide receivers to go out there onto the field. And I think that's how the Ravens designed their team. That's why Miles Boykin's still on the team. That's exactly why he's still on the team, because they know, hey, we need somebody to block. He can still come out there and he can do that. So we have James Prochet and Tylen Wallace. Hey, we need somebody to go up and make a big catch. We have them. We need somebody to turn the burners on. We have, Hollywood. We have Watkins. We also have Duvernay, who's also very fast. But we need somebody to do kind of like a jet sweep or something like that. Duvernay can do that. He's willing to run somebody over. He is like a hybrid running back wide receiver when he gets the football. So overall, don't expect the depth chart when it gets released to just be disappointed. It's oh, Tylen Wallace is at number 5, and James Prochet's at 6, and Miles Boykin's at 3, or Miles Boykin's at 4. Don't be disappointed in that, okay? Kind of expect that, because the depth chart rankings will not matter. It's not typically running back rankings are going to be pretty stable. If it comes out that Justice Hill's running back 2, then you're okay, Tyson Williams not going to be getting a lot of carries. But I expect Tyson Williams to be running back 2, Justice Hill running back 3. But at the wide receiver spot, it's going to be shifty. So it doesn't matter what the Ravens list them as. It's how much they use them in the personnels that they use them in. And that's one of the biggest things we have to pay attention to early in the year. What personnel are coming out in different formations and sets. But thank you, everybody, for watching. Subscribe for daily Ravens content. Let me know if you think I'm right in terms of this kind of shifting, malleable depth chart, or if you think it's going to be like recent years where it's pretty stiff. Hey, wide receiver 2 goes down, wide receiver steps in his place, or wide receiver 3 steps into wide receiver 2's place, wide receiver 6 steps into 5's place. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section down below. Like the video if you like the video, subscribe for daily Ravens content, and I will see all of you again tomorrow.